viewport, select this F5. So now come to this camera options. So come to this background images, expand it. So here let's load our footage. So click on this movie clip and let's load our footage here. So opacity, I will change this to 1. Add mesh, select a cube here. This add mesh, select a plane here. So this is going to be the cloth. So I will place the plane here just above to the cube. So press 7 for top fill, increase the scaling by axis. So go to this object, apply scale here. So now press Ctrl R and add loop cuts here. Ctrl R and add loop cuts here. Go to this add curve, select this curve spirals and select this arc median. And by the way, if you not properties and rotation -90, select this plane. Come to this modifier options, add modifier. Come to this deform and select this curve. So in curve object, we need to select the spiral and deform axis. It should be deformed in y axis, right? So let's select this minus y axis. So now select this plane. So let's move it. So here you can see we are getting that edge. So select this vertex. Go to edit option. Change this to edit mode. Select this one vertex here. Hold Ctrl key and hit on plus icon to select the neighbor vertices. Right click, subdivide. Now select this middle vertex here. Let's bring it bit up and okay. So select the plane here. Come to this physics property, add cloth, and now edit mode. Last vertex here. Select all the vertices. Come to this object data properties. Click on this vertex group. Let's change this to pin and assign. That means we have with this cube. So select the cube, come to this physics property, add collision and friction. I will reduce this to 2 here, and inner thickness I will reduce to 0.1. So I think this is fine. And also select the plane, right click, shade smooth. And also we need to enable self collisions for this plane also. So come to this physics property, scroll down and come to this collision options. Enable this self collisions, and by the way, come to this cache options. Here our footage is of 1 to 376 frame rate, so we want to have the simulation throughout the time length. So let's change this to 376 so that the simulation stays throughout the timeline. And also if you want to have this unroll animation bit fast, so first of all let me see. So now if I play this, you can see we got this unroll cloth banner animation. And by the way, if you want to have this bit fast, we need to increase the weight of the vertex. So vertex mass is 0.3, so I'll change this to 0.5. And now if I play this, it will be bit fast compared to 0.3 value. You can see we got our cloth simulation, this much of length. So I'll select this vertex here, delete vertices. Before that, we need to bake the simulation. So scroll down and just click on this bake option. Put here. So select the cloth here, come to the shading viewport. So being selected the cloth, click on this new button to add a shader. So now select this principal BSDF and press Ctrl+T for node wrangler. And by the way, if you're not enabled node, now we can select any banner image. So I will select a banner image here. So I will select this one. So select it and open. So now you can see we got that banner, but it is inverted. So now let's rotate this. So come to this rotation options in the node and let's change this to 180. Okay. And also it is bit stretchy. So come to the scale options and let's reduce the scaling. Come to the shading option. So for that we need to delete this principal BSDF. So select this principal BSDF and delete it. So let's expand this one so that this is visible only. Okay. So I think this is fine. Now let's select these 3 nodes. Shift D to duplicate it and place it here. Okay. Now let's delete the image from this node. Okay. So this is the front side which we have applied that KFC banner, right? So in the back side we need to add another image. So in this I will load another image. So open. So from here I will load this image which is simply a color texture. So select that one and open image. Okay. So now we need to mix these both shaders. So for that we will be using a mix shader. So shift A and search for mix shader. Select the mix shader here. So we got the shader, right? So this front image we need to add this above shader, and this back image we need to add this in below shader. Okay, now connect this shader to the surface. Now we will have both the images side. You can see we got the texture along with the banner. So now we need to separate them. So we can separate them by using a geometry node. So Shift A, search as geometry. So select this geometry node. So here we got this back facing option, right? Just connect this to factor of this mix shader and done. You can see we got this on the front side, we got the banner on the front side, and we got another material or another texture on the back side. So in this way we can apply two different textures on the same plane. Okay, so now our thing is done. So let's move on to this render viewport here. So press 0 for camera view. Now let's move on to this render viewport. So here the scene is looking dark because there is no light in the scene. So let's say this. So now we need to load an HDRI. So come to this world properties, click on this yellow dot and select this environment texture. So here I will load an HDRI, open, select this HDRI and open image. Now you can see we got some lighting in the scene, and come to this render settings, enable this ambient occlusion, distance let it be 5, and enable the screen space reflections, refractions also, and come to this film options and make it transparent so that our footage is visible. And here I will be using cycles to render the scene out. So come to this render engine, change this to cycles and enable this GPU compute. And here we got the shadows already, but we need to make this cube as a shadow catcher. So select this cube, come to this object properties, scroll down, come to this visibility and enable this shadow catcher. So now you can see we got the shadows here. And now if I play this, we got our banner also. So if you want to rotate the shadows here you can see at the starting frame this is tilted right. If you want to rotate that one, come to the shading options. Here we need to rotate the HDRI for that. So let's change this to render viewport, and here change this from object to world. So now here we got this world properties. So now in order to rotate this shadow we need to rotate the HDRI. So if I come to this render options and if I disable this film option here, you will be having a clear vision. So now select this HDRI, Ctrl T for the no triangular, and now let's rotate this in Z axis. You can see we are getting the shadow straight. So let's add bit value here and that bit value. Okay, now you can see we got our shadow straight. So now let's disable or enable this transparent option and let's change to this layout and press, let's save the project. Okay, and by the way, if you want to enable motion blur, you can enable motion blur also. So enable motion blur. So once this is done, and you can see we got our banner ad visible properly. And now let's see how we can render this out. So for that, here I will be using cycles only, and render, come to this render settings. Here maximum samples I will change this to 32. If your device can support large number, you can do that, and enable this denoise option. And noise threshold I will give a large value like 0.2. So higher number it will render bit fast. If your device is capable, you can leave it to default for better resolution. So here I will change this to 0.2. And if you want to enable motion blur, you can enable that. So I will enable this motion blur also. So once this is done, come to this output properties. So here the resolution is by default set to full HD. I will use this to full HD only. Enable this render to region and crop to region. And frame rate we need to match according to the footage. So if I come to this footage option and if I check the properties, so you can see if I check the properties here, it is of 25 frames. So I need to change the frame rate here. So I will change this to 25 frames. Okay, and the frame range starting and end 12376 is fine. And output I will select a folder where I can save the file. So let's select a folder. So here I have selected a folder where I can save the files, and file format it should be PNG, let it be RGBA, and everything is fine. So once this is done, go to this render and click on this render